Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a really interesting set of notes here today, all focused on one specific concept. And it comes with a pretty huge claim.
Oh, yeah, it's massive. We're diving into something called the 5-second rule. And the source material basically throws this idea at you. Change your whole life in just 5 seconds.
5 seconds. Okay, I mean, my first thought is, that sounds a bit like a quick fix, maybe even a gimmick.
Totally. That's the initial reaction, right? But the
Yeah.
author, well, they really insist it's based on science and that it's actually, profoundly effective.
Okay, interesting. So our job today, then, is to really unpack this rule. Let's try and figure out what it actually is.
And why the author claims it works so well. And importantly, look at the impact they say it's having on real people based on these examples in the notes.
And the background story they give is pretty powerful, actually. The author talks about creating this when things were really tough.
Yeah, like falling apart, kind of tough,
Mhm.
marriage problems, money issues, career going nowhere, self-esteem apparently in the gutter, as they put it.
And it started super small, didn't it? Just as a way to, stop hitting snooze and actually get out of bed.
Exactly, just that basic. But that little personal trick supposedly grew into something huge.
Right. The notes set it up saying this simple thing is what the author credits for, going from bouncing checks to 7 figures.
And fixing a marriage, celebrating 20 years, beating anxiety, building businesses, becoming this big-time speaker. It's quite the list.
And the core promise in this material is that this same simple thing, it could work for you too.
That's the hook. So let's get into it.
All right, so fundamentally, what is this 5-second rule, according to the source?
Okay, so the basic mechanic, it's incredibly simple. The notes say it's about making a decision, acting on an instinct, really, and then taking physical action within 5 seconds.
5 seconds, and there's a specific technique.
Yeah, just counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you physically move. You launch.
Okay, so it's not just thinking, I should do that. It's the countdown and the immediate physical start, like launching a rocket.
Precisely. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. The source calls it a powerful metacognition technique.
Metacognition. Thinking about thinking. So how does counting down fit in?
Well, the idea presented is that the countdown interrupts the kind of thinking that usually stops you. You know, the hesitation, the self-doubt, the excuses that flood in.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. It's like a pattern interrupt for your brain's tendency to overthink things.
Exactly. It's a way to bypass that loop.
So what does the source claim this actually changes in us, our behavior?
It's framed as swapping that overthinking habit for what they call a bias toward action.
A bias toward action. I like that phrase.
Yeah.
Huh.
So instead of getting stuck analyzing, all the what ifs and potential downsides, you just act. The material claims it helps you stop doubting yourself and start, believing you can act.
So fundamentally, the rule teaches you how to change by giving you a tool for those critical moments.
That's the argument. It gives you control right when you need it.
Which leads to that big question the source itself raises. How can one, really simple countdown,
Yeah.
possibly do so much across so many different parts of life, from bedtimes to, big life choices?
It's a fair question. And the answer provided in the material is, well, it's interesting. It suggests the rule isn't fixing your specific problem, like your finances or your relationship directly. It's working on you.
Working on me. How?
The author's view is that we all have this inner wisdom, right, or instincts, maybe greatness. The rule supposedly gives you the clarity to hear that
Some
instant.
courage to act on it
Yeah.
before your brain shuts it down.
Exactly, before the doubt and fear creep in, which happens incredibly fast.
Okay, clarity to hear and courage to act. So how does using this countdown actually build that courage or clarity over time?
Well, the source explains it like this. Every single time you use the rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, you're choosing to, quote, honor your instincts with action.
Honoring your instincts, even the small ones, like getting up.
Especially the small ones initially. And doing that consistently, following through on those little nudges, that builds what the author calls real confidence.
Real confidence, not just feeling good,
But like an internal belief in your own ability to take action, it comes from doing, not from outside praise. And each time you use it, the claim is you get a little closer to being the person you're truly meant to be.
And this ties into the author's big aha
Yeah.
moment about why change is so hard for most of us, right?
Yes, exactly. That's a really key piece in these notes. While using the rule, they realized they were making these tiny, almost invisible 5-second decisions all day long.
Decisions that were actually stopping
The
them.
decisions to not do something, like the instinct pops up, speak up in a meeting, start that project, make that call, and then boom, within 5 seconds, the mind jumps in.
With doubt, excuses, worry, fear,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
All of it, killing the impulse. So the realization was, I'm the one stopping myself most of the time. And the rule became the tool to flip that, to use that 5-second window to push forward, to become the solution instead of the problem.
Wow. So that tiny gap, that 5 seconds between the impulse and the mental brakes hitting, that's where the action is.
That's the battleground, yeah. And the source uses that David Foster Wallace fish story to illustrate this. You know the one.
About the fish not knowing what water is. This is water.
Right. The most obvious fundamental realities are often the hardest ones to see. The author connects this by saying they always wondered why it felt so hard just to do the things they knew would make life better.
And the rule was the answer.
It was presented as the $1 million answer. Change isn't just about knowing what to do. It's about finding the courage for those everyday 5-second decisions to actually do it, bridging that knowing-doing gap.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense conceptually. Now, the source material apparently has a lot of examples, right? Real stories. It says it's packed with proofs.
It does. The notes definitely shift into showing all the different ways people are supposedly using this, and it starts pretty relatable. There's Margaret, who used it just to get herself to the gym.
Oh, okay, yeah. That
Yeah.
struggle is real. Hitting the gym, starting to run.
Totally. We've all been there. Then it moves into things like career stuff. Someone named Mel used it to get the nerve to talk to his boss about goals. Apparently, it worked out well for him.
So overcoming that kind of workplace anxiety or inertia.
Exactly. And then there's Laura. Her story is about moving from just making lists and excuses to actually doing things. The notes say it led to big results for her: more cash flow, finishing a degree, even hiking mountains and training for a marathon.
Wow. So tackling procrastination, fear of starting things. What about areas like networking or sales? That often involves facing rejection.
Yep, several examples there too. Ken used it at a conference to just walk up to influential people he wanted to meet. Matthew used it to finally make those dreaded cold calls to executives.
Oof, cold calling. Yeah, that takes nerve.
Definitely. And Alan used it at a golf event to just start conversations, ended up meeting like a dozen people he wouldn't have otherwise. So it's about pushing past that social awkwardness or fear.
It seems like it applies not just to big start doing this actions, but also maybe managing your reactions, like self-control.
Yeah, good point. There's Jenna, a mom and business owner. She uses the 5-4-3-2-1 to stop herself from snapping at her kids practicing patience.
Okay, that's practical.
And she also uses it for sales calls to stop thinking about how intimidating it feels and just pick up the phone and dial. So yeah, overriding those unhelpful emotional reactions.
And the notes mention it being used in companies too, not just individuals.
Right. Crystal at USAA, her sales team apparently jumped to #1 in their location after they started using the rule. And managers like Muzz are teaching it to teams globally, so it's seen as having legs in a professional team setting too.
Interesting how it seems to scale, from just getting out of bed to team performance. What about bigger dreams, like passion projects people put off forever?
Mark's story fits that. He'd apparently thought for decades about starting this nonprofit hockey league for inner city kids.
Decades is a long time to think about something.
Right. He used the rule to finally get the idea out of his head and into action. And the notes say it led to him partnering with former Olympians and NHL players. Pretty cool.
That is cool. It sounds like it tackles inertia on all levels. But the notes also mention some really serious challenges, like addiction, mental health.
Yeah, these are some of the most impactful stories in the material. There's Bill, who apparently found the rule on Reddit. He used the countdown to interrupt the urge to drink.
Just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 instead of taking the drink.
That's what he described. And he credits it with helping him get sober, celebrating his 40th birthday sober, which is huge.
Wow, that's profound.
It really is. And maybe the most intense one is from a work colleague of the author's. He was apparently in a really dark place, deep depression after a separation, even having suicidal thoughts. And at his lowest point, he apparently used the rule 5-4-3-2-1 to make himself put down whatever he was going to do and call for help instead. The source frames it as a literal, life-saving 5-second decision.
Goodness. Those examples really show the claimed range, don't they? From like gym motivation right up to crisis intervention.
Absolutely. And the material uses these stories to say, look, the applications are kind of limitless. It highlights someone named Marlowe who said things just became easy once you wrap your head around your own ability to push yourself out of your head into action.
Which I suppose brings it right back around to you listening to this. The source really stresses that this isn't just about the author or these people in the stories. It's meant to be about you.
Yeah, very much so. It even suggests that you might look back and realize you've kind of used this instinctively at key moments in your own life, those big, heart-first decisions.
Like the example of Catherine.
Right. Her sister died, and she instantly decided to take in her orphan nieces and nephews. No hesitation, just action based on instinct and love. She realized later, looking back, that was a 5-second decision. She bypassed all the logical, how will I manage this? Thoughts.
Just pure instinct, pure courage in that moment before the fear could set in.
Exactly. And the overall message from the source material is, yeah, applying this consistently takes effort, it takes work. But the actual process of improving your life this way, learning to trust yourself, acting on opportunities, it's presented as simple, doable, and maybe the most important work you can do for yourself.
Okay, so let's try and boil this down. From what we've seen in these notes, the 5-second rule is essentially a simple physical countdown trick. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Designed to help you harness everyday courage, to take immediate physical action on your instincts or goals.
And the key is that it overrides the doubt, the fear, the excuses that your brain throws up in that critical 5-second window right after you have the impulse to do something.
Right. It's positioned as a way to build that real confidence by consistently acting on your instincts, closing the gap between knowing what you should do and actually, well, doing it, and ultimately guiding you towards becoming more the person you want to be.
So here's something to maybe chew on, pulling directly from the ideas in this source material. Think about your own day. How many times does an instinct pop up? The urge to call someone, start that task you're dreading, step away from the screen, make a healthier choice, whatever it is.
And think how fast that urge can just disappear. Argued away, rationalized away within just a few seconds.
Exactly. So the question the source leaves us with is, what opportunities, what small acts of courage, what steps towards your goals might be waiting for you right there in that brief but really powerful 5-second window? If you just chose to count down and push yourself into action, the material suggests maybe, just maybe, you're only one 5-second decision away from a very different life.